Hello, and welcome to Gylee and Friends, episode 28?
28.
28? Dude, that was totally like, I remembered what episode it was. That was great.
Good job.
I am your host, Christopher Michael Kringle, CEO and founder of Gylee Games. With me, as always, is, we didn't think of a good one
No,
for you.
ChatGPT failed. I said do better, and they did worse.
Kim Edwards, senior producer at Gylee Games. Happy Christmas, Kim.
Merry Christmas.
Your hat looks stupid.
Your hat also looks stupid.
My hat looks great.
So we're on the same team. What do you mean your hat? We have the same hat on.
No, you have a hat and then a hat. You have a hat on top of a hat.
Because listen, I have this hat on already.
Are you a big Yankees fan? Is that the problem?
Yes. And now you made me cover it up.
You are not a Yankees fan.
No, I just like the hat.
What is wrong with you?
Lots of stuff. We don't have time.
Fair enough. How was your week at Gylee?
How was my week at Gylee? Really good. It feels longer than it should be, but I think it's because a lot of people are like slowing down and we're not. You know what I mean? Like, we're still working.
For sure. Like I have people outside of the studio. You mean?
Yeah, like other companies. So it's harder to get responses from people and stuff like that.
Yeah, that is frustrating.
Yeah,
for sure. But good week.
Good week. What about you?
Great week, man. QA team's doing great.
Yeah.
The sewer level looks really good.
Have you seen Zoi's headquarters?
Zoi's headquarters is great.
Okay.
Yeah,
They're
I guess
gonna
we're
be locked
spoiling some of the game.
Tomorrow.
Whatever.
We can tell them the name of levels.
Okay.
I don't think it's spoiling anything.
Yeah. They'll be locked. Yeah, shit, tomorrow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Woo.
Did Andrew implement the fix that he had shown?
That's what we were just talking about outside the podcast studio. He was on the way to make a build for the QA people to play test because there isn't a build that has in cloud builds yet that they can play test.
Okay.
That took me a minute to get there.
Cool.
Yeah.
We have a great guest today.
Oh, we've got a guest?
All the way from Bellevue, Washington.
That's really exciting.
Also known as Seattle-ish. Dustin Kochensparger. Let me try it again. How was that, though?
It's pretty good.
That was pretty good?
It's pretty good.
Dustin,
better than I've heard a lot worse.
Dustin Kochensparger would be like the Americanized.
That's
right?
how we say it, in my family.
Is one of the co-founders of DB Creations, and a mixed reality game studio based out of Bellevue. With over a decade of experience working in video games, he drives the design and production for many of the games DB Creations develops. He is passionate about using the toys we grew up playing as inspiration for new kinds of games, tapping into childhood nostalgia to create new magical moments. DB Creations is currently working on a brand new strategy game for the MetaQuest platform called Crystal Commanders, which releases early next year. Welcome, Dustin.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing good. Just started my holiday break yesterday, I guess.
Which is why you're here.
That's right.
Nice.
And yeah, now I'm here.
Yeah.
Celebrating with you all.
So you're an Ohio boy.
I am an Ohio boy. Yep. Columbus, born and raised.
Yeah.
And then I left to go work on the West Coast, like many of us in games do.
Yeah. So you talk a little bit about that journey, right? Like, so you go to college. Did you go to college for game development?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I went to the Rochester Institute of Technology in upstate New York for a degree in game design and development in 4 years. Graduated in 2014. Just a long time ago.
Oh, you're a baby.
You're a baby.
That's
I know, but like, let me have this for me,
that's
right?
fair,
like,
fair.
you remember what it was like.
Yeah.
You know, it's over a decade now, and that feels like a long time.
That's fair. Well, it is over a decade. That's wild. That's
right?
crazy.
Right?
So, okay. So, and then what brought you to Seattle?
Work. Ended up over there working at Bungie started off as a production coordinator, and then was there for 7.5 years. Worked my way up to senior producer, working on the Destiny franchise the whole time I was there.
I've heard of that game.
Yeah, it's just a little baby game.
Little baby game.
Little baby game.
What was that experience like, man? As much as you can share. I mean, I know.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, but
it was very interesting, like coming from, my degree and working on sort of like very indie side stuff while I was in school. And then I also did a stint in a startup in Portland before I jumped over there for 6 months. And so, yeah, like jumping over to like the big AAA, Bungie was, I think, around 500, 600 people when I joined, like right in the middle of the sort of the hiring right after launch of Destiny 1. And it was really interesting just like getting to work with like the biggest eye-opening thing, I guess, that started out was just like all the specializations of everybody.
Yeah.
Because you have enough people that it's like, oh, there's a person whose job is just lights for these scenes. And you're like, what do you even do all day? And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of learning that's really hard to get in like your degree that you learn from people on the job about like, oh, what is it that you do all day? Oh, that's amazing. Like, I need to learn how to work with you. Let's figure that out. So that was the biggest thing, I think, which is like learning about the specializations and the scale of everything.
And they have a bespoke engine, right? Don't they have their own engine?
Yes. It's the Tiger engine.
Yeah.
Which is spun out of the Halo stuff back in the day.
Right on.
When they did their split, they had the fork of the engine that went with them, basically.
And so you were around for them getting bought and sold a couple. Tell me if I'm wrong here, but like bought and sold a couple of times.
So
right?
I was there during so they were already in the publishing agreement with Activision when I joined up, which was to get through Destiny original through Destiny 2, and then I was there when they ultimately like bought themselves back from Activision.
Yeah,
and then I left in the spring of 2022, right before the Sony acquisition.
Okay.
So I was there as they were working through that process, but I wasn't there for the final bit of it.
Did that stuff, because like I think about that stuff a lot as a business owner, and like, did that stuff affect you guys sort of like on the ground floor at all? Or was it just like just focus on the game and working on the game?
So certainly for the Activision deal, like that was a big celebrated moment for the studio. Like it wasn't something that we were exposed to a lot on the production floor in terms of like, hey, this is going to have a bunch of impact on what you're doing. Like I think the studio did a great job of kind of making sure everybody knew like, hey, we're taking care of these things. Like you guys need to make a great game. We're going to handle the rest. But when it did come and it was finally, hey, we're now like our own studio, we're charting our own destiny, like, no pun intended.
Get it?
Boy, that comes up a lot. Wow. But yeah, that was a really big moment. We had a big studio meeting and then like, it was cheering for minutes on end when it was like, we're now doing this the way we want. Like, it's scary, it's exciting, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
And that was like a really big moment.
Did you feel that freedom after it happened? Like as far as like timelines and, sort of notes and feedback and those type of things and like the direction of where the game was headed? Or?
I think that last one is the big one, right? Like I wasn't privy to a lot of the like sort of minutia of a lot of that relationship, but certainly once we were sort of charting our own course, like the directionality for the game towards the seasonal model, right? Like that stuff all came after that moment. And so there was definitely a lot of big changes that came up that were very like feelable right away. Like, okay, we're going to experiment with some new things. We're going to figure out some new ways of doing business. Like that's one of the things Bungie was always pioneering with the live game model was like, how do we figure out what we're going to do with this long term, And that was a big moment for sure.
Right on. And then you went out and started your own.
That's right. I did.
Tell me about that journey into making that choice.
Yes. So we decided, my co-founder, Blake and I, we were college buddies, met at RIT together, built some games together, and then both ended up in the Seattle area. He was at Microsoft and I was at Bungie, obviously. So we stayed friends and stayed close while we were in the same area, but obviously doing very different careers and very different like companies we worked for. And so we'd been talking about doing side project stuff for a long time. We were both very interested in like the MR space.
Right.
This is like, we'd both
that's the glasses that you have on.
Oh yeah.
I
think we totally forgot that was happening.
Yeah. These are the brand new, brand new. I was a couple months ago now. Snapchat spectacles that they just came out with. They are fully untethered, glasses that are AR glasses that you can wear that have screens in them.
Yeah,
and they're very cool. We built a game for them.
You look real sexy with them too.
Thank you so much. Yes, I really like them. They're very fun. But yeah, we've really liked the MR space for a long time. We had a DK1 that we were messing around with in school back in the day. And then the Gear VR came out, which if you remember that, you shove your like phone inside that thing. We built some prototypes for that as just fun side stuff because neither of our day jobs at the time were focused on the MR market.
Right.
And so we were kind of scratching that itch with nights and weekend stuff, as I'm sure you all know, like us creative people tend to do, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're doing the day job, but then you're also doing this nights and weekend stuff. And so after we did that for a while, we started to get a little more serious about it. Like, hey, this is really cool stuff. Like we're starting to get in, PSVRs coming out. Okay, Sony's a big player. We've got the Quest 1 coming out. And it's like, okay, untethered VR is now suddenly a thing that's like pretty great. And so we're seeing all these things and we're starting to get a little more serious with, hey, we want to do something with this probably. Like, can we do that? Like, should we do that? And then Blake started working on HoloLens. That was like even more of an impetus. Like, okay, now I'm seeing like this other side side of this industry, this AR stuff coming online, these like enterprise glasses, like we should probably start thinking about this more seriously. And so we started doing bigger projects. We started doing some porting work of some of our previous side stuff for a little bit of cash.
And while still having a day job?
Yes, while still having a day job. That was one of my my favorite things about working at Bungie is they had a very, very generous moonlighting policy that was basically like, don't make the game you're making during the day and don't let it get in the way of putting in your time at work, and we don't care.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's changed since I left. I can't speak to their current moonlighting policy. I am not an employee of Bungie anymore.
Don't call in sick because you stayed up for 3 days straight working on your moonlighting thing.
Yeah, that would have been your manager would probably want to talk to you about that if that happened.
Yeah,
that's right. Yes.
We might have had that happen.
we have a very healthy moonlighting policy too.
That's good.
Yeah, we do.
People still find ways to take advantage of it.
I know. This person told on themselves, which was the problem, because I was like, come on, man. Now I got to say something.
Yeah.
Because you didn't show up for work, and now you told me why you didn't show up for work.
Right. Like, now I got to put on the HR hat, do the HR thing.
She's good at wearing hats, though.
Oh, yeah.
I can wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
See,
oh, my God.
I
hate this.
Now we've made it part of the show, so it's worked out.
Yeah. Okay. So you're moonlighting. You guys are starting, and it's just you two just kind of taking
just
on
the two of us, and then some friends that we know that are do various things that we can give a little bit of money to.
Sure.
We worked with our previous some students from our school at one point through the Magic Center over there, which is their like innovation lab, to do some art for us. And so very scrappy, like find ways to like stretch a couple $1,000s into like vertical slices of stuff.
Wow. Right on.
And so we were doing that for a while. And then we got more serious once we started building a sort of Quest or PSVR potential pitch. We made a nice pitch deck for it. We did a vertical slice. We're talking to Oculus Start at the time about doing something with that. And as part of kind of getting that vertical slice done, we'd been messing around with Snapchat as a promotional tool because we knew that they had an augmented reality platform. And we were like, AR, VR, meshed together nicely. And so we built a very simple like face lens with one of the character models from our game as a promo thing that we kind of shared out as like, hey, we were building this cool strategy game prototype and here's some promotional content for it just to see what would stick. Nights and weekends, scrappy stuff.
Yep.
And Snapchat actually reached out to us and was like, hey, you guys do development? Like, that's pretty cool. And we'd previously built a sort of full but small game for iOS and Android that was a strategy game in AR that was also on some other glasses, sort of like these, as another sort of side project. And so that coupled with this lens we built, we started a conversation with them that ultimately turned into landing our first piece of like real contract work with Snapchat to build a lens, a game lens for their platform. Through their Ghost Innovation Lab, which I think is still around or has been rebranded slightly, but like they have an innovation fund that they were looking for like people to build cool AR stuff.
Right.
And so we got into that. And then while we were kind of finishing up the application for that and kicking off that project, still as a side project for me, Blake had gone full time at this point. And so he was kind of working more than I was on sort of building things. But then as part of that, they told us, hey, we have this business accelerator as well. You should check that out. Like if you guys really want to like do a company. And so it was called Yellow. Unfortunately, it's now defunct. We were in the last class of it, but they put us up for that, and we applied to that program and got into that. And that was when I knew, like, okay,
it's
now
time.
We can make the jump. Like, there was cash coming in from that, as well as the like work we were getting from them for that game project. And so,
I feel like that's one reason. One thing that accelerators are undervalued for is like helping people make that jump. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
In 2011, I got accepted into an accelerator. At that point, I was already an entrepreneur, but I was doing web development, and I just fired all my clients to
go
focus on my thing, which was the best feeling in the world.
That's amazing.
Fire every client. It feels so good. Just be like, hey, can't work with you anymore.
Right, I'm doing my thing now.
Don't need to hear your bullshit anymore. Yeah. So that's cool, man. That the accelerator was sort of that impetus.
Yeah, because as a at least for me, being a older founder, like not founding right out of school, was a conscious choice that both of us made because we talked about doing, starting a company right out of school, but we had both kind of independently come to the decision that like we wanted to go learn our crafts better. Myself being a producer, working in project management. Blake, my co-founder, working on the tech side of things and engineering, right? We both wanted to kind of learn, hey, how do we do these things? Because we had our degrees, but as you know, like your degree is the starting point, not like I am now a full senior engineer.
Yeah.
And lots of people do found out of college, and I think that's great. Like I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but like for me, I knew that it was not the right time to found. I wasn't ready to be, a leader, to be someone who was going to be like running a company and taking that responsibility.
I feel like that's a very mature approach to that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And so all of that to say that like one of my rules for founding the studio, now that we were ready to do it was like, I got to pay my mortgage, right? Like at this point I have a mortgage, and it's like, I'm not going to do the like put myself in financial jeopardy to like run this thing. Like I want to do it. I want to make it happen, but we have to do it in a stable, sustainable way.
Right.
And that was really important to me. And so that's where the Business Accelerator was that like, grease that made that happen, where it's like, okay, cool. I can actually leave my job and still make a lot less money, but money to pay my mortgage, which is my minimum bar for doing this
cover
thing.
your bills. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And so that worked out really well because those things all came together nicely in that moment.
What was like the highlight of that experience for you going through that accelerator with Snapchat?
Oh man, no one's ever asked me that question, funnily enough. I think it was two things. One, it was a really good class of people. Like there was some excellent people.
Your peers are the best part of an accelerator.
They are.
I'm still good friends. It's 15 years later almost. I'm still good friends with a lot of those CEOs.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Like we stay in touch with several of the groups from that experience, and they were all awesome and like just really interesting people that you get to run into in life and see what they're doing. So that was great. That made the experience excellent. I think the other thing though was just having a lot of focus time where we were forced to be like in a room with some prompts that's like, figure out why your company exists and like what it really means. And like, that was work that, because we're a dual founder setup, right? There's two of us, we're equal founders in all ways, right? And that was very important to me that was that way from the beginning. So there's never any questions of like,
we'll talk about that later.
how all that works. And so I wanted to avoid all that. So it's like, we're going to be equal from the beginning, but we still have to be on the same page, right?
Yeah.
So now we have to have two brains that are both like firing in the same direction.
Aligned, yeah.
And like, turns out when you actually start asking harder, deeper questions about why does this company exist? What are we actually trying to do? Where are we trying to go? You unearth a bunch of assumptions that you both made independently of each other that you're like, oh, well, of course you feel like blah.
It's like couples therapy almost.
It really was. Like, and it forced, and just like, that's what it is. It locked us in a room. It was like, here's a bunch of prompts. You have 2 hours. You're going to fill them out. And you're going to come back and talk to the class about what you've come up with. And like that, being forced to like confront that stuff was really good foundational work that like got us on the same page early so that we were able to know, hey, we both have the same vision for this. We want to see this thing happen in these ways. And now we can focus on doing that as opposed to like running into those landmines.
And your goals are aligned. And
exactly.
Yeah.
So that was the thing that I wouldn't have, it's kind of boring, but it was kind of like a thing that was mechanically part of that I really look back on, and I give a lot of advice to other founders. I'm like, do these exercises, even if you're not in an accelerator, because you got to find that stuff early.
Yeah, like I often tell, as somebody, like I mentor a lot of founders, and like one of the first things that I say is like, make a pitch deck. And they're like, well, we don't think we're going to raise any money. And I'm like, who cares?
Right.
Like that process of telling that story from front to back, talking about your market, talking about your go-to-market, talking about, all of the different pieces it takes to like go raise capital.
Right.
Like just going through that process tells you a lot about if you actually want to go make this company or go build this company.
100%. Yeah. It forces you to confront those things that like you're going to get asked eventually.
Right.
You need to know beforehand where your head's at with them.
Right. But man, I think that's huge advice. Okay. So you do this accelerator, you make some new friends. Was that in LA?
Yes, it was in LA, but it was during like the back half of like the worst year of COVID or whatever in 2022. So like we didn't do it all in person. It was a week in person and then remote for 6 weeks and then a week in person at the end.
Not bad at all. Yeah.
So it was like a blended, and that worked super well. Like it was a good like week together down in LA, do the stuff.
Yeah.
Then it was all remote, which worked well for me because I was still working for part of that, like while I was offboarding at Bungie.
Right on.
So I was able to do all the remote stuff while I was, back there and kind of finishing everything up, putting it on a shelf before my 2 weeks, and then. The last week was the sort of standard, I think, like pitch week that you do for
demo day.
Yeah, demo day. Exactly.
All that stuff.
Yep.
So then you become an official entrepreneur.
Official entrepreneur.
What
Sticker on my chest.
Yeah. What has been one surprise that you've had in becoming an entrepreneur? Like one thing that you didn't expect to be true?
One thing I didn't expect to be true. I think it's that like all of the boring business advice is like very useful.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that you kind of gloss over because it's not the sexy stuff.
What would be an example of that?
The ones I always tell new founders is like find a lawyer that you don't hate, like ASAP.
Lawyer
like,
and accountant.
And CPA right with them. Like get that done early because you need those people for stuff and you're going to have one. Make sure it's one that you can stomach how much they cost and that they understand the space you're working in so that like when you need them, they are there. They know who you are, you know, like, and same with your CPA, right? The same deal. You know, and like all of the software, right? Like I actually messed this one up. Like get your QuickBooks started day one.
Oh yeah.
Because having to put in all the transactions into QuickBooks 2 years later is not fun.
Oh God.
It's not fun at all.
No, that's
really
pretty
sucks.
awful.
Yeah. Ask me how I know.
Thank God for Plaid because like the third parties that can actually just sync bank accounts at this point. Like,
I don't know about that. Oh, that would have saved me some pain. But like get that stuff figured out early. Like, what's your file share? Yeah, there's all this like work that needs done that like I think we all end up doing while we're doing it because we're like don't have anyone send you that list.
Drew was telling me you're on Teams?
Yeah, we use Microsoft Teams,
Why?
That's the most affordable version of that software.
Again, I was like, why are you throwing shade? Teams exist because people use it.
Yeah.
Teams to me is like always shitty corporate people though. I'm so surprised to like hear a startup because like I don't know, we all use Google Drive and Slack.
We use Slack, but like also I haven't been getting my Slack notifications.
Yeah, Slack's been fucking up lately.
And
I'll give you that.
Slack is just very expensive. Like
it is expensive.
Gives you like Teams gives us all of the stuff that we want and the ability to link into OneDrive like from the get-go, which is nice.
Yeah.
But they all have problems.
They all have problems.
Because I have to have, I'm sure you guys do too. You have to have all of them to talk to all of the corporate partners you do have. Like I have a Slack, I have a Teams, I have a Zoom, I have every piece of potential video software.
28 Discords.
Oh my gosh, don't get me started on. Everyone wants to believe Discord is like the answer, and it is not the answer.
No, it's awful.
It's not the answer. It's so great for chatting with your buddies about games and memes.
And that's it.
Please don't put your corporate software or your like outreach strategy in Discord. Like I can't handle it.
It drives me nuts. It's like not where I go to do any work.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
Yeah, but that's fascinating though. So but you're you know like figuring all that stuff out early and making those choices.
As early for some of them, not for all of them. Like I said, like but yes, like definitely like ones that I was like amazed how much spending that time to like figure out what those efficiency gainers are going to be, so that you can actually focus on the work that you need to do that isn't that stuff.
Yeah,
because like. Somebody's got to pay payroll, right? Like that just has to happen mechanically. And when there's two of you, health insurance, right? Yep. When there's two of you, that's a significant amount of time, right? Yeah. So the more you can find those software solutions that give you back that time to focus on the real work that you need to go do, like the better. And
absolutely.
The quicker you get into that stuff, the better.
For sure. And maybe that solution sometimes is just another human that can handle a lot of that.
Yeah, sometimes it can be, right? Whoa.
Who did that? Whose mic went on?
I think it's the
That's
iPad.
the iPad.
It's kind of like turned on.
I know.
Yeah,
that was
weird.
fun.
That was terrifying.
And then turned off.
And break.
So you guys become official entrepreneurs. You start the company, and you're initially taking on contract work. That's the idea. But I'm assuming you have your own IP that you want to build at some point.
So, yeah, I mean, what was interesting about the work with Snapchat was that it was on contract with them, but it was more like a publishing deal where we came to them with a pitch that was like, hey, we want to do a strategy game for your platform and do multiplayer in AR, which is not a thing many people have done.
No,
and that was part of the thing they were excited about was like, oh, you guys want to do this like very hard problem. Like that's interesting to us. Like, so it was contract work in the sense that it was done under contract, but it was more like a publishing deal. And that's how most of our work with them has been.
And so you get to keep all that IP.
Yeah. Unless they, say otherwise with things or like want to reserve something, but that's part of the contract negotiation, right?
Yeah.
Is, figuring that out. But for most of the work we've done, no, it's been more, it's weird. Our business model has been previous to our work with Meta and our upcoming game, like very much like almost a B2B relationship where like we kind of do white glove like technical development with these games. So like often we're being given access to like new APIs that no one's run before. That's like, hey, we just got these done. They're pretty advanced. Like, can you kick the tires on them, make interactive content with them, and then like ship that, and like we can see how that goes and what we can learn.
Great.
And, but yeah, a lot of the IP lives with us because it's not about IP ownership for them. It's about testing the technology and giving them feedback on making their platform as good as it can be.
So to that end, like, how do you go from that to now Crystal Commanders?
Yes. So we had been
launching soon.
That's right.
On
February.
MetaQuest VR.
Yeah.
February.
Awesome.
February. Very excited. It's our biggest game yet, and we're pretty pumped about it.
I've heard the sound's really good.
Yeah, the sound is really good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a buddy of ours did that. I think you know him. I think his name's Drew.
He's literally right there.
He's right in the studio. We're looking at him. A little plug for Drew there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were working with Snapchat for about a year and a half, 2 years. And we'd done several like strategy style games. And through a mutual connection that we had with somebody who used to work at Meta and then worked for a different company and then went back to Meta, we kind of got introduced to the right people on the content sourcing team to talk to about doing, like a more official published project. And honestly, the story was pretty straightforward. Like, we had a bank of work of 2 other AR strategy games we'd done. One that I mentioned earlier for iOS and Android called Table Trenches, and then this much larger one we did with Snapchat called Operation Living Room, that were both kind of prototype vertical slices almost for like an augmented reality, like in your room.
Like the thing that you wanted to make.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly. And so like we were kind of able to leverage that in our pitch deck to show like, hey, we've done this before. We have some experience with this. Here's how those things have done. We'd like to take this to the next level with a more advanced piece of hardware, a more advanced piece of kit. And by that point, we'd brought on a few more people to the team, like we'd grown a bit. And so we were able to show the maturity of the studio and the fact that we could take on larger work, having done, a couple of years worth of Snapchat stuff and then a few other things here and there. And so that all just went into the pitch deck combined with sort of the idea that we had started out with when we kind of decided to do all of this was actually like, I think I have the napkin sketch somewhere. Like Blake and I were out getting dessert after, I think, the symphony or something. And like, we had been talking about like toys to life strategy game. And we were like, wouldn't it be cool if you could have a strategy game where the virtual toys interact with your actual furniture in the room?
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, that would be rad. I don't know if we can ever make that, but that'd be really cool. Yeah. And then so we built those 2 kind of previous versions of it that were sort of held back by various technology limitations of the platform. And so going to Meta, it was kind of like, okay, your thing can do all the stuff we want to do. Let's realize that dream together. Like, let's make this thing happen. Let's see what a strategy game in MR looks like on a real pair of glasses.
And really what kids are envisioning when they're playing with action figures.
Yeah, exactly. That's been really key to all of our development. Like you mentioned in my intro, is like bringing those toys to life in like the ways that we did when we were kids, like in a whole new way.
Yeah.
Powered by this incredible technology we have access to now.
Yeah. And how's the development process of that been?
It's been good. I guess it's been our biggest project to date. So we hired a few more folks for that. Like we've expanded a lot of the different aspects of things we've been doing. We did VO for the first time.
Yeah.
For like a campaign for the first time. And then a lot of getting back into Unity too for the team. Like we've used Unity previously, but our Snapchat stuff's all in their proprietary platform called Lens Studio. So getting the team back into the Unity frame of mind and building stuff was like a good stepping stone as well of okay, this is a much bigger thing with a lot more moving pieces. Like we're really gonna have to scale up kind of every aspect of our studio.
Did that feel scary?
Very, very scary, right? Like it's comfortable from some parts of my brain from when I was in AAA where it's like, okay, big is good. But also you're now at the top of the totem pole for all of that stuff. And that's kind of terrifying at the same time. Cause it's now I have to be responsible for managing the entirety of this project and all the moving pieces that go into it.
Big target on your back if it doesn't go
well.
well.
Yeah, of course. And that's part of the ownership, right? That's the double-edged sword that we all talk about. That's the great thing about being, a founder or CEO is you get to make all the decisions that you wish you could have made in any other job you had, right? You're like, that was dumb. I wanted to make this decision. Right. It would have been better. And now you get to try and prove that you were right. but also you got to own it when you're wrong.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. And
you definitely end up, I mean, I don't know if this happens to you, but like you definitely end up making decisions that you're like, I know they're going to hate this, but it's the best choice because I have all the data.
Of course. You have like the 1,000
and then you realize
view.
that your bosses were doing the same thing.
Right, 100%. You get that like empathy for decision making that you didn't really realize when your head's down in the trenches and you're very focused on your task versus like the higher order view. But that's where I think that like for me, we try to be, fairly communicative with the team about like, as much of the details of the work as we can without getting too deep, right? Like you're always trying to provide that like that clarity of what's going on and how are we getting to these decisions. We actually do OKRs still for my studio every quarter, and I find that to be a great ritual, like OKRs to just share. Here's kind of how our decision making trickles down from these like big pillars that we're setting for ourselves. And the team seems to be appreciative of them. Like no one ever said like, why do we do this? Like they seem to appreciate that we're giving that transparency. Yeah, that's right. Maybe it's behind the scenes, around the water cooler.
I know people talk shit about me behind my back constantly, and I don't blame them one bit. I get it. I'm like, I'm hard to deal with, like, and I'm in this body. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. How as far as like all the stresses and stuff of having to deal with that, like, what are some coping mechanisms that you have personally to manage that?
I mean, the biggest one for me is like having a co-founder, honestly, like really helps because you have this like trusted partner that like, as ideally as your friend, but like at the end of the day is a person that like has the exact same goals as you, right? As I talked about earlier, like once you've got that foundation laid, like you have this, trusted partner that's on the exact same path that you are. And you can just bounce ideas off of each other because there's no stress, right? It's not like talking to any other person about it, not like your business advisors, not like your investors if you have them. Like there's all these people you can talk to in the like orbit, right? To get advice from. But your co-founder, if you have one, is like a different tier because you are truly both on the same page. And so that helps a lot because like, there's always moments where you have to make decisions and you're not quite sure, and especially as you grow, you have more and more decisions to make. The decision making gets distributed out more. But having that trusted partner you can go to and just be like, hey, what do you think about this? Like that helps a lot. Like
one thing
really
that
helps me.
One thing that I love about that dynamic specifically is like I hate that my words carry so much weight sometimes, like especially with other people on the team or whatever. And it's like I just want to like work something out. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. Right. Like, I'm a fucking idiot most of the time anyway. And like to have that partner, that person, I feel like you're one of those. Like you're definitely somebody that like you and I can chat and work through stuff.
Yeah.
And that if I say something dumb, it doesn't mean it's going to happen or whatever.
Right. No, you're just shooting ideas and we're just kind of ripping and going through them. And then if something sticks to the wall, then we might present it to the team.
Right.
Yeah.
And get team buy-in. That's the other
thing. It's the leadership paradox. Like I learned that one when I was at Bungie. Like even as a lower ranked producer, like as I was on my career path, like I learned very quickly that like the producer in the room still gets like an insane amount of respect for what they say. And like, that's a really weird thing when you're like newer to the industry. You've got like people that have been doing this for 15 years in the room and your like inclination, at least mine was to like defer to them. And they're looking right back at you like, no, you're the producer in the room.
You're the
Whatever
expert,
you're
homie.
saying is like what's happening. And I was like, wow. So like, that's 100% I agree with you. Like that paradox is really challenging in the small studio environment where there are only a few people to talk to.
Right.
So having that person exactly, you can bounce stuff ideas off of and know, hey, I'm not presenting this to you or I'm not giving this to you as information that you need to act on or anything. I'm just literally saying words that I need some reaction to.
Other studio founders is also huge as well.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, I don't know if you do that, but I have regular calls with a few other
Yes,
studio
we have
founders
several, like I'd call them sort of sister studios that we do like monthlies with to check in on in the AR space because that's where we work. So there's several other AR game companies that we check in with. And it's great to, once again, be able to like no nothing held back, like no reason to try and like, because people often think that like, maybe you've run into this too, that like you would be really adversarial with other like game companies.
No,
like,
we want to make
they're your competition. And I'm always like, no way.
No, we want to help each other succeed.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like people don't get that about games. I find.
Like rising tide lifts all ships.
Absolutely.
Like there's
100%.
There's no competition here at all, man.
Yeah, I agree.
And I love like that's why GDC is literally my favorite week of the year.
Yeah.
Like it's just connecting with other devs.
Absolutely.
hearing what they're working on.
It's the one place where you get to like take the walls down to just talk like dev to dev to dev to dev, and like you don't have to like explain everything around a thing. You can just be like, yeah, this thing, and everyone's like, oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, you don't have to validate your lifetime decision to make games. Like, there's also that.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
Where it's like, no, you guys, it's the largest entertainment market in the. Never mind. I'm not even going to fucking explain why this is a good decision from a business standpoint.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, it's
Absolutely.
great. Well, dude, I'm so excited for Crystal Commanders. Sorry.
Oh, I like that. We could do a spinoff though. Crystal Commandos. I like that.
There's a toy movie that's like right on the tip of my tongue, and I feel like Commandos was in it. And I can't
It's not Small Soldiers, though.
Small
right?
Soldiers. That's what I was thinking
That
of.
movie is a fun movie.
It's so good.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I grew up. I had the VHS.
I was going to say, I watched it as a child. Are we all talking about the same game
It's
where they
very,
come
very
to life
old.
and it's like.
Yeah. The toys come to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got the
And then
evil,
they
One's like a
start fighting
Thundercat.
you.
One's like a Thundercat, and the other one looks like fucking Arnold
G.I. Joe.
Schwarzenegger. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And they
Yes.
build like crazy weapons out of like the like lawnmower and stuff.
Oh yeah.
No,
It's
like
so
now
good.
thinking back on this, like, was I supposed to be watching this as a kid? Was that okay?
It was one of those weird ones that was right on the line where like
Yeah.
it wasn't like
kind of weird.
violent, but it because it was toys, but like they were behaving in a very
behaving
like
very
adult
violent,
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt similarly when I watched
It had an 80s vibe for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And then there was a game that came out recently that was similar to that too, that I can't remember, that where toys come to life. It's a shooter.
Yeah, there's a multiplayer shooter that's been playing off there where all the maps are like toy box room stuff.
Yeah. It was good
I've been
stuff.
following that one too.
This
Yeah.
is fun.
Also,
and then what's the Robin Williams movie? Toys. I think it was called Toys.
oh, toys.
Yeah,
that was
with Jane Cusack
mind
too.
fuck
That was
for
a good
sure.
one.
I don't know if I remember that one.
Oh my gosh!
This
If
is
you haven't
wild.
watched it, you should. It's
Yeah.
a classic
Should.
and a good one to watch around Christmas time because it's very
Ooh.
Yeah,
Christmassy.
it's very Christmassy. It's a little weird.
I love that.
So Dustin, we require now
Uh-oh.
every single guest to come in and ask us for advice.
Oh, this is the new segment that
Yeah.
just started, right? Like,
This is Kim and
but it's
Chris's
required
advice corner.
now.
Yeah,
I'm required for the first time ever.
Right.
This is an entry fee.
Is there like a fun like a music hit that we play when we enter
Oh,
the
absolutely.
section?
Marcus already has it done, right?
Oh, good, excellent.
No. You know very little about us, but what advice can we give you?
So
I love it. No, I did think of something that I am not good at, and maybe you're better at. I mean, you have a podcast, so clearly you're slightly better, if not a lot better. So like I'll just read my little blurb here, but like, so marketing is challenging, expensive, and time consuming.
Sure is.
What high impact things have you done that worked really well? And where do you focus your time and energy? And how do those focuses change through the phases of development when
Right
you're
on.
releasing a product? So anything around that
Yeah.
stuff I always love to learn about because it's something that we do a bit of and need to do more of. And like, I'm always trying to learn more about that space.
Yeah. So a couple things.
If you say host a podcast, so help me.
Don't
Oh,
host
God,
a podcast.
don't
So the whole reason that we
podcast.
host this podcast, which I think our audience knows
I think
at this
everyone
point,
knows. Yeah.
like we don't host it for the podcast itself. Like we host it because then we have an hour of content at least a week where we can cut it up and use it for TikTok.
Ah, okay.
And so TikTok, Insta Reels, those type of places, that's where you're going to build an audience today. But I don't want to actually make Kim do dances or whatever every week.
TikTok dances?
TikTok
do people
dances.
do that? Well,
Yeah.
there's not even going to be a TikTok in
Tomorrow?
I think it's the 19th of January.
It's coming up.
Oh, of January. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But so to that end, TikTok, I think is, or any of the newer platforms, TikTok, Insta Reels, video is just like such a requirement nowadays.
That's
man.
what
It's
we're
crazy.
hearing too. It's
Yeah.
like when we did our trailer cut, we had to like also have a vertical done because it was like people aren't going to find stuff on YouTube as much as they
Yep.
used to. Like you got to have a version that's vertical cut for mobile phone.
Absolutely.
distribution. It's
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Absolutely. And we, our marketing, we've been kind of, I'm navigating not saying a lot at the moment.
Sure.
But we have a new head of marketing starting soon.
Oh, nice.
That I'm really excited about. But like for me, I mean, those that like influencer tier level of like they have 200 to 500 sort of regular viewers, I think is really good because like you can actually work with them and like, it's
Okay,
not
so that's
gonna,
who you're
like,
targeting when you're
Yeah,
talking to influencers.
yeah,
Is that
like-
kind of like is that like the middle band? I guess.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like you're
like
not
lower middle
nobody,
band,
but
yeah.
you're not the biggest people.
Right. Like we're not going to pay for Ninja to play our game
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Be cool.
I mean, if he does it for free, great.
Yeah.
But like we have somebody that'll be playing it for free, that it's going to be really great. That's one. I mean, one of the things for us that I'm trying, I don't know how this will go, but I've been excited about it, is when we designed our characters, we made sure they were very like cosplayable.
Oh yeah, that's been a great bar.
Right?
Like, we had that at on Bungie as at Bungie on Destiny.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Yeah.
can't talk anymore. Like that was a big bar that was used. I think Overwatch was one of the earlier ones to push that idea. I think it's super smart.
So like making sure that we're making stuff that people can cosplay as, and then helping them. I mean,
are you doing cosplay guides too?
That's a great idea. Yeah.
I'll send you a bill
Cosplay
in the mail.
guys.
Yeah.
Consulting.
Yeah.
No, I've seen a lot. I've seen even indie, like I was Tactical Breach Wizards did that recently. They dropped that in their like Steam updates. So like, here's the cosplay guides for Halloween. I was like, super smart, guys. Super smart.
So
perfect.
Smart.
Yep, absolutely. So that, I mean, I think that's really important, because like our game is definitely character focused, and we want people to lock in on our characters for sure. Obviously, like when you're on Quest, it's got to be a little bit more difficult, but like we participate in every Steam festival and like all that good stuff. One of the things that worked well for my last company that I can't wait to try for this company, and I absolutely am, is like really boring ass traditional marketing. One is I had found a hack to get national commercial airtime for like super, super cheap. And so we did commercials on like Nickelodeon and what was some of the other ones, like Lifetime Channel and
Hallmark, I think
Hallmark Channel and a couple others, and those did extremely well.
Did you actually like see the conversion?
Oh yeah, because you can see the spike. This was for so it was for a tech company, so it was a little bit different.
Sure,
right?
but that still worked.
But you could absolutely see the spike in user, because that's how I built 4 million users for my last company.
Wow,
was a lot of that, and then PR obviously is huge. Like that's the other. Have a really good PR agency. We have an amazing PR agency. Shout out Stephanie, you're wonderful. We miss you. And then the earned media, basically in general, being a big part of that. And then I'm gonna just straight up buy a couple of billboards.
Are you really?
Just to see.
Just to see. Yeah. One
where?
near us, so we can like look at it.
Yeah. I want to take a picture
its own
with
content,
it.
right?
Yeah.
You can make a week's worth of content out of that easily. I'm putting up a billboard. I'm crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
So, like,
great for TikTok.
Those like weird traditional media things, I think actually like
interesting,
because people aren't used to it anymore.
Yeah.
There's there's a way to like come back on some of that, I believe.
Interesting.
But yeah, those are some of my tactics that I plan on using. Kim, do you have, I mean, this isn't really your sweet spot, but.
I used to do marketing PR, so I feel like I can answer this.
Okay.
Thank you very much. One of the things that I like that we did at the beginning, because we didn't really have a lot of shareable content and we didn't want to reveal the game, and I feel like that's a lot of states for video games, is that we created this webcomic. And we based it off of everybody in the office. So
fun.
We animated everybody, and then we would have like a little meeting.
We illustrated everybody.
I'm sorry.
There was no animation.
We didn't animate. We illustrated everybody, so they had their own likeness in the webcomic, and it was based off like the shenanigans that happened in the office. So if something silly happened, we would jot it down in a doc, and then we would make a webcomic about it. And it was really good shareable content.
Yeah.
Like your oldest, I remember when he was, I think, 5th grade, like him and his friends were all into it.
Oh yeah, it like hit like the lunch recess track at my kid's school.
So I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
And I wish we would do more behind the scenes, because I feel like that's a lot of the things that people do want to see, like how the sausage is made. You know,
we've tried stuff that failed. Like we film. We have a bunch of footage for a doc.
Yeah.
But like as we were doing it, we're like, this is too hard.
We wanted to do like the double fine. Yeah. But we still have that, and we could still utilize it, and it would be interesting to look back on it, because like people don't understand how difficult it is to make a video game, and how many people touch the game, and you know, all the ins and outs. So I feel like that in itself is very good content to utilize, and I feel like it would be very shareable, which is basically what you're looking for.
Shareable content.
Yeah.
That's how I got into video games, was watching the Halo 2 Vidoc on the
That's
Collector's Edition.
cool.
Oh yeah.
That was what I like watched and was like, oh, you can have a career in this? That's cool. I should do that.
Did you watch the Double Fine doc?
Oh, the more recent one? I
Either.
have not actually.
Yeah.
But my co-founder has. And
They're
It's
really good.
amazing.
I constantly find moments in my life where I'm like, fuck, I'm in the Double Fine
Yeah.
documentary right now.
We reference
Like, it's
it a
very
lot.
weird. It's very weird.
Yeah.
So Dustin, do you know what happens if you let someone shenan once?
No, don't.
They shenanigan.
Oh gosh, I
can't believe
was
you fell
afraid
for
that
that.
was what it was,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to say it because I thought it was silly, and now here we are.
What have been some shenanigans you've been up to lately?
Shenanigans. So I mean, it's been the holiday rush, like
Yeah.
getting everything done.
That's
for
why you're here. It's
my
great.
trip down here. That's
Yeah.
right. Getting everybody like all the Christmas gifts for people in Seattle done, all the Christmas for people down here done, like,
Yeah.
and then getting the studio in a good spot so that I can, be here instead of paying attention to whatever they're doing. Though I'm sure they're all doing amazing stuff. Go team.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting all that in place was a lot of the last rush. The Game Awards recently, just did a watch party with my co-founder. Had a good time. It's been an annual tradition for us, like since before it was the Game Awards and back to college days.
I
Like,
love it.
That's
always
awesome.
watching that just
Yeah.
to see what's being shown off. How
It's
is
so
the marketing
fun.
going?
It's such a
Like,
celebration of the industry. Right?
Yeah.
It is. It is. I think it's fine. A lot of people are cynical about it. these
Gylee
days.
gets too much shade, man. Like it's
Well,
it's fun.
he's starting to lean into the shade, which I appreciate. Because
The Muppets this year was
would
great.
make
The Muppets
memes out of
was
it. The
the
Muppets. Was my
best.
So
favorite.
Judah was there, and he said that the Muppets were like there on stage.
That's,
Like,
That's funny.
I thought it was like pre-filmed or something.
No,
But,
it felt too real.
It
Yeah.
did feel really
Because like in a
real.
way that I'm like, I'm not sure if Jeff like got the notes of what these were gonna be. Because they felt like they were hitting some real zingers.
Oh,
He
they
was like,
were.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Which
It
was
was
great.
like
I love
his
it.
own roast.
Yeah.
Like, kind
Oh,
of.
it was really good. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So
Well, that's what I
super
mean.
fun.
He's leaning in
Yeah.
on it. Like he knows people are going to meme him, and
Yeah.
and I
We
appreciate
do
that.
here, which I wish although I've heard actually our marketing guys in Seattle, he told me that this happens in Seattle too. But we do the Game Awards gala. And
Oh, nice.
We all dress up in suits and fancy clothes.
Oh, that's
and
fun.
We had about 100 people watching the Game Awards together. and it
Wow,
was
that's so
great.
cool. I
Yeah,
love
it was
that.
fun.
It
And I
was
think
fun.
Seattle Indies or somebody does a watch party for
Yeah.
it or
I love
something.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ours is more boring because we're very annoying when we watch it. Like it's
You
like
just want
all
to talk about it the whole time?
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's all
yeah.
commentary on like what is this?
Yeah.
And like we also this year we actually wrote it down. We did a pre-show. We went through the like award categories and made a bracket
Yeah.
to figure out which one of us was better cued into what was going to win the categories.
Yeah, who won?
That was me.
Nice.
Nice.
By like 4 points too. It was a
Wow.
pretty
Oh, wow,
solid
come
Come
win.
on, Blake. Get your shit
Pretty
together.
solid win.
Yeah.
It was fun. So that did that. That was super fun. And then last weekend, right before I flew out, I did some paintball.
Okay.
Which I've been really
Ooh.
getting into lately.
Right on.
Like I like to go do other stuff outside of games, to like bring in new
Paintball's
ideas.
still a
and-
game.
It is a
Paintball
game,
is
but it's like a very
definitely a
different
game.
kind of game.
It's
It's
a
like
very
a
different kind of
real
game.
world game.
Yeah.
And one of my buddies is like super into it, and he got me into it. And I'm
It
I'm wearing
hurts.
gear
Yeah,
and
I was
stuff.
going to say I'm always afraid because I don't want to get welts.
Yeah, you do get welts. That is
Yeah.
100% a real thing. I was looking for someone, but they've
Oh,
all
were you?
cleared up now, which is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, they do sting a little, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like every white male has a paintball era.
Mine's
You know
starting
what I
late, but I'm okay with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fun, but
That's
it's
funny.
weird. You're like, wow, this is just team deathmatch. Like I've
I
played
know.
hours of COD, but
Oh,
now
yeah.
like the paintballs are flying over my head. What's going on?
Yeah.
It's fun.
That's great. Kim,
Chris.
any shenanigans lately?
I wanted to follow up on our shenanigan conversation of last week to cover SantaCon
Oh yeah, SantaCon.
because we made a bet with each other.
Yeah, and
And-
we're doing our own SantaCon right now.
That's kind of true.
Kind of true, but I'm not going to get wobo wasted and puke in a trash can
No, me
outside,
neither. Yeah,
which is why I hate SantaCon. Are you familiar with SantaCon?
I know of SantaCon.
Okay.
I've obviously never been to SantaCon.
okay. Well, it happens in our neighborhood.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
it's here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh.
they have it like every city. I feel like every major city.
yeah. But this is like this neighborhood's one of the big SantaCon.
Yeah.
One of the big ones.
Areas.
Yeah, it
Yes.
stretches through all downtown.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
and so like I'll walk out my front door and somebody was puking, and so I'm kind of
Oh.
over it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
So Chris and I made a bet last week because SantaCon was this past Saturday that like we would go out and if we caught someone puking in the wild, we would take a picture
Okay.
yeah.
with them. But I think they changed the rules this year because I'm used to seeing in the daylight, and SantaCon didn't
It was
start
all at night. I
at
felt like
6
too.
p.m.
Yeah,
Oh.
So I still,
I didn't see any puking. I didn't see anyone puking this time.
I went
Saw a
out-
lot of Santas.
Yeah.
No one was puking.
I would
a
hope.
lot of
so.
Santas. I went out, made resis at 6:30, so I was in it.
Although
in
my
the
kid was
wild.
puking, but that's unrelated. He was not participating in SantaCon.
Is he still sick? Are you spreading sickness in the office?
No, I think he got food poisoning.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
I know. I woke up. I had to clean up puke this morning. It was not fun. Anyway.
But is your child okay?
Yeah, he's good. He's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, poor you.
Really?
Really?
He's been fine.
I know. You were like, I had to clean up puke.
This morning, yeah.
Okay, anyway. I digress, per usual. It started late, so it was different. I was waiting for someone to be like already like wasted midday, and so I could take a good picture. So I willingly made reservations on at Aladdin's, which is a restaurant on Main Street.
Mediterranean. Great Mediterranean.
Yeah. Highly recommended if you're anywhere in Cincinnati. Also great prices. Everything is fresh. It's delicious. 10 out of 10. So I made reservations so I'd be in the thick of it, and it was horrible, but people they were like clumsy drunk, so they were like running into me, and they were loud, but they weren't pukey drunk yet. So it was just like all the things I hate amplified in everyone in like Santa suits.
I love that you did this to yourself.
I did it to myself, even though I had, like last time we spoke, I like went into it going, I'm not going to go outside. I'm not going to deal with these people. And then we made a bet, and I was like, well, now I have to go outside. Like I feel obligated. Anyway, I'm not doing this ever again. They changed the rules on me. I didn't know it was going to start that late, and it was just so awful. It was so awful. I regret it. How was your SantaCon?
Great shenanigans.
Yeah, that's a solid like shenanigan.
Yeah.
I didn't mean
there's a
for
lot
it
to it.
I mean, I saw some Santas. It was pretty uneventful.
You were in like the best section of OTR.
Yeah.
You were like right on the edge of Santa's, where I decided to go in the middle of Santa's.
Right. Yeah. I feel like I did something else which kept me away from it, but I can't remember what.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait. No, that was Friday. I just thought you played pool. You told me you were just playing pool.
Yeah, we did do that. That's right. Yeah.
Which is fun.
It was fun.
If you're good at it.
That's true.
I feel like
or you're
adequate. Like just like, okay.
Drinking and then.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah. My shenanigans are pretty low-key for me this week. Playing a lot of Marvel Rivals still. Absolutely love it.
Still loving it? With the boys or
no,
both?
Both. They've already fallen off of it. The problem is the new Helldivers update stole them from Marvel Rivals.
Fair.
They're playing a shit ton of the new Helldivers update. And then I did speak at CasaCon, which was a virtual video game.
You haven't told me anything about this.
Convention.
That was on Sunday?
Yep. I was on a panel with a bunch of great creators and Melissa Medina, who's the voice of Eris in our game. And,
she's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty straightforward. A lot of cool indies, and there's like what I love is like it's like a lot of indies that like don't even get like any press or anything. You know what I mean? Like that level, that tier.
That's cool.
And you discover what I love about it is I discover a bunch of cool games.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like I would have never heard about this.
It's great and terrible because then you have to put them on the list of games to play, and I'm like,
yeah,
I want to play your game.
We'll play.
I don't know when it's going to happen, but I will play it eventually.
Yeah.
Please let me know.
I literally like basically take a whole day during Next Fest and just download a shit ton of demos.
That's smart. Just like
smart.
play 10 minutes of all of them to figure out what's going on. It's
great
for me now.
So we have a vast audience, and they're always dying for our recommendations in entertainment. Do you have any particular recommendations before we take off here, Dust?
I have a few.
Yeah.
I recommend Silent Hill 2, the remake. It's very, very solid.
Heard good things.
I heard good things. He doesn't like horror, but
do you like Resident
I'm
Evil?
really excited.
That's too scary? Okay.
Too scary.
Because I thought Silent Hill was going to be like way worse than Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And I was pleasantly surprised that it's
not.
like kind of like Resident Evil in a lot of ways.
Right.
At least Silent
okay.
Hill 2 is.
Yeah,
I really don't know a lot about this franchise, but everybody was talking up this one, and I was like, I got to check it out. And it's like playing like more good Resident Evil. It's real good.
There you go.
That's cool.
So big fan of that for sure. Recommend that. I decided to get back into Fire Emblem again for the umpteenth time.
I
love Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
I'm playing through Engage again. I didn't actually beat it the first time.
Is it Switch?
The newest ones are Switch, Engage and Three Houses. And then,
Three Houses is one I was thinking of. That's one like at a school or whatever, right?
Yep, that's the one at the military academy.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Engage was the most recent one from 3 years ago now.
Okay.
Hopefully be another one soon.
Tactics games.
Oh, me too. Absolutely. So it's super fun to play on the plane or whatever, like super chilled out. Also, I'll shout out Balatro. That game is addicting. Don't play it because that's all you'll do.
300 hours, baby.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah, I see how you get there though. I was like supposed to be sleeping this morning, technically, after my flight got in and I chatted with the parents and everything. And I'm like, all right, I gotta go to bed because I gotta drive down to Cincinnati in the morning.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, actually, I forgot. I didn't finish my Balatro run from when I got off the plane.
Well, and if you
get
stop, like picking up a run is impossible.
You gotta remember where no. So I was like, well, I gotta keep that going. So I played literally 40 minutes and I looked at the clock and I was like, you have to stop now.
Yeah.
The game is amazing.
I've fallen off playing it lately, but it was always in the background on my computer.
Yeah.
That's how I got to 300 hours.
That makes sense.
Because I would play like turn or move or something.
Yeah.
And then you get back to work and then play a turn or move.
It's free on Apple Arcade if you have Apple Arcade. It's free, you paid for it. But I didn't realize on Apple Arcade, that's how I got addicted.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll shout out, because it's a recent one that we just kind of picked up, was there's this toy system called Rokenbok. I don't know if you've ever heard of this.
I have not.
It's from the 90s. It's a toy system kind of like a blend of Lego and RC cars.
Word.
It's really rad. It's something that I always wanted to have when I was a kid and never got to actually play with. They had them at Toys R Us, in the glass case.
Oh yeah.
So you could mess around with them. It's like IRL factory sim with
that's cool.
Yeah.
It
looks cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
We're doing some research for some things we're thinking about for the future and picked up a set of those off eBay to mess around with, and man, that stuff holds up.
Rokenbok.
Really fun. So
love it.
It's a thing that I'm like, man, this is pretty cool.
Nice. Kim, what recommendations do you have?
Mine is Needle, which is an app. As everyone it's an app.
Called
yeah.
Needle.
Never heard of it.
It's a music app.
Okay,
so I've been searching for new social stuff since TikTok's going away. I do like Blue Sky, but it's not giving what I want just yet.
You don't follow me
short
on
form
Blue
video.
Sky, I don't think.
Sure.
I do.
Oh, okay.
I just don't like your stuff.
Wow.
Awkward.
Make sure to follow Kim on Blue Sky.
Oh yeah, I guess you could find me if you find you. Anyway, Needle is a music sharing app, and it's connected with both Spotify and Apple Music. And so if you have either one of those accounts, all you have to do is share songs, new songs that you're listening to, and everyone shows up in your feed and they pull from your Spotify likes and stuff like that. So the thing that shows up in your feed is similar music that you like. And it's you just see the album cover and it's you scroll over and you can listen to the song and I'm so engrossed in it.
Dude, I'm going to check that out.
Is
Drew's downloading it right now. I see him.
It is amazing. It's so easy to share. It's I'm literally in Spotify boop. There's a click of a button and it goes right on my Needle.
It's like that Spotify where you share you two people have a shared playlist thing, but
oh yeah, very similar to that. Yeah, but better because you're scrolling because I'll just I'll scroll and I'll hear just the first couple notes. No, not that one. Next one. Okay, and it just hits.
Yeah,
it just hits.
Yeah, the thing I learned about that that shared feature, because Blake and I have a Spotify playlist that's shared, and turns out he uses Spotify a lot more than me, and that changes the weighting heavily.
Oh, really?
So it's really just a playlist of all of his favorite music.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, I get one song, and I'm like, wait a second.
I need a touch tunes mode where you can pay to
can I get to buy stuff?
There was something at one point where if you shared your Spotify with someone, if you shared the login, I remember back in the day, and then you would be in it, and then they would log in underneath your login, you would flip what they were listening to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
Yeah. That was my favorite because you could just fuck with somebody.
I literally to that end on Hulu, you have different accounts, right?
Yep.
And then, but my kids kept using my account. So I had to create a second account called Chris's No Bullshit account. Literally the title is Chris's No Bullshit account. Don't use this. And they're 12 and 10, so they crack up that they see no bullshit on Hulu all the time.
Yeah. Chris, do you have any recos?
I do.
Yeah.
And it's about
He's got
this.
props.
Oh, I was
It's about this little guy right here.
Oh, did you watch the trailer? Is that what this is about?
I can't see.
I don't know. Marcus? Thumbs up.
Good? Yeah.
He's looking good.
The new Superman trailer came out today, and I'm so excited.
Can you guess
James Gunn.
why I'm excited?
Why you're excited? Well, they filmed in Cincinnati. Is that why you're excited?
No. In the trailer, there's a special little boy.
Oh, a special. Well, I don't want to spoil it in case anybody's seen it, but there is a special little boy that helps him.
So cute.
Have you seen this?
No, I was driving all day.
Oh my god!
I haven't seen it.
I
didn't know James Gunn was working on a Superman movie. So
Well, he
fascinating.
runs the new DC cinematic universe. He's the guy that's he's the Kevin Feige of DC now.
Oh.
So
I don't keep up with the DC side of the world.
Well, this is the first new one.
Yeah.
Or this is like the start of it.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't want
We're trying again.
Spoil the trailer, but Superman is in special need, and a good little helper comes and steals the show, and
Nice.
I cannot watch. I did not know that this particular character was in the movie.
Yeah. Also, total aside, I'll recommend this too. So Kenner was a toy company that started here in Cincinnati.
Buddy, I know about Kenner.
Yeah.
He was a big Star Wars boy
kid.
for
Yeah, good.
I don't know, 8 years.
So Kenner was right down the street from here.
Okay.
And the Hall of Justice is based off of the Union Terminal.
Oh.
Or Cincinnati Museum, I guess now is what it's called.
Yeah,
I'm
we
using
all
old,
still call
old
it the
terminology. But
AKA my
because
backyard.
Kenner was literally like a block from it, and so that they used that as inspiration. And this is the Kenner, this is a recreation. This is McFarlane Toys. But they recreated all the original Kenner DC figures.
Cool.
And so I had this as a kid, but I lost the cape. Everyone always loses the cape. And so this is really what you had as a kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, that cape came right off.
Yep.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I know. I think Ryan lost the Batman cape that's in here.
All right, we're not going to call out people.
Fucking Ryan. But anyway,
Too late.
Kenner DC, there's a Cincinnati heritage here that
yeah,
makes me
especially since
really
they
happy.
filmed the movie here.
Yeah, and so they filmed at the Hall of Justice here for the Superman movie. So I'm
cool.
super excited.
I see what you did there. I'm also everyone has to go see that. That trailer is such a good trailer.
I unabashedly love Superman.
Really?
I love Superman. I think there's been a lot of bad takes, but like Warren Ellis knows how to write Superman, dude. Like Superman's can be fucking incredible. He's an amazing, amazing character. Dustin, where can people find you and DB Creations online?
Yeah, I mean, we're primarily on, we have one of everything, but like we're mostly on Blue Sky and TikTok these days. And also LinkedIn is a big one for me. So if you want to keep up with what the studio is up to, you can follow me on LinkedIn, and also learn about the secret of Waffle Fridays.
Oh,
if you don't know about Waffle Fridays, tune in on LinkedIn. You
I don't
can
think we're friends on LinkedIn.
I friended you on LinkedIn. I'm just waiting for.
I try not to spend time on LinkedIn. I have to because we're hiring.
Yeah. Well, then see, the thing is, I provide a nice little boost of just positivity and fun on LinkedIn by talking about Waffle Fridays.
Yeah. I don't. If I want to go for AI written thought leadership,
that's
LinkedIn's
also
where to go. Fucking awful.
Turns out if you don't write that stuff, people like it way more, and I get a lot of organic praise for my LinkedIn posting. So.
Good to know.
There you go.
I can learn from you.
But yeah, I mean, and then also as we talked about, I got to plug it one more time. We're on our biggest game yet, Crystal Commanders on the MetaQuest platform.
Yeah.
It's up for pre-order right now. It's 25% off. The biggest discount we're
get it now
for a long time, probably. Yeah. So if you want to get it, now's the time. It's on SideQuest. You can find it there and also in the MetaQuest store. So go check that out or crystalcommanders.com.
Sick. Kim, where can people follow you online?
Please don't follow me.
Blue Sky. Follow her on Blue Sky. She has one.
I can't. I don't think you can go private on.
They haven't
Blue
added
Sky.
that feature yet,
Yeah.
probably. It's too new.
Dang it.
I delete your account.
Follow me
Chris?
at Bergs Makes Games on Insta, at Bergs on Blue Sky, and most importantly, follow at Gylee Games on all socials. And Kim,
Please wish list. Oh my god.
she's dragging.
Please wish list. I can't do it.
One more time.
Please wish list Rah Boom on Steam. I got there.
Okay.
You
I
did
should
it.
have done the tricks
Yeah.
before.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Have a great week.
holidays.
Thanks.